I'm going to walk you through creating an Apple ID without a credit card. The first thing you do is go to the email I sent and click on the link for creating an Apple ID without a credit card. That will launch a new page with instructions on what to do next. You'll see it says if you already have an Apple ID, you may, but we want to create a new one using your xcp.org email account. So click on creating an account on a computer, assuming that you don't yet have an iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch to use. So click on creating an account on a computer and it will launch a new screen with some instructions. It's going to ask you to open up the iTunes store, and if you have a Mac, you already have the iTunes store, you already have iTunes installed. If you have a PC, you may have to install iTunes. I have another video for that. Just let me know if you need it. So to get to the App Store, we've got to launch iTunes. So I go ahead and go into iTunes, and on the left-hand side, you see where it says iTunes Store. That's the first thing we have to do. So we click on iTunes Store, and we have to check that our country code is correct. One of you tried to create an Apple ID and ran into all sorts of trouble because it thought that you were in England. So scroll down to the bottom and just validate that you've got this little American flag button on the lower right-hand side. Right there, I'm circling it. If you don't, you'll have to click on Change Country to make sure that you are in the United States. So choose Change Country if you need to change that. Going back to the instructions, it tells us the next thing we have to do is download and install a free application. So we're going to launch iTunes again. Excuse me, we're not going to launch iTunes again. We're just going to go back into iTunes and we're going to find a free app to download. I'm going to download Homestyler because it's right there on my front page and it's free. So I go ahead and I click on Homestyler and it launches this new window. Unfortunately, I was logged in as my other Apple ID. So if you have another Apple ID, make sure you go up to the upper left of that black navigation bar and sign out. So then when you click on free to purchase this app, it's going to ask you to enter your Apple ID and your password. You're not going to use your old Apple ID. If you have one, you're going to click on Create Apple ID. So we go ahead and click on Create Apple ID and it prompts us to continue. We click Continue, make sure you read the terms and conditions, and then click the checkbox to accept and click on Agree. In this next screen, it will prompt you to enter your email address. Make sure this is your Xavier email address, your @xcp.org email address, and enter a password. This can be a little tricky. Make sure you follow the instructions clearly for creating a password. I messed it up a few times the first time I was doing it, and I had to keep looping back and making sure that I was fitting the 8 characters and 1 special character, 1 lowercase, 1 uppercase, all that other stuff it tells you to do. This is just to make sure that you're extra secure. After you get your password set up, it's going to prompt you for entering some security questions. I picked what was the name of my best friend in high school, and I'm entering the name of Janice Smith, who wasn't my best friend, but in case I ever have to use that as a security question, I don't want you to know the real answer. And then I'm going to pick another one. What's my dream job? Working at Xavier. That's absolutely true. And then the final one, what's the first name of my boss? And that would be Joan. I thought about putting Mary, but I put Joan. You will then be prompted to enter an optional email, a rescue email, if you will. Enter an email address that you use at home or something other than your xcp.email. Org email, excuse me. Enter your date of birth, make sure you're accurate here. Finally, go ahead and take a look at those check boxes, whether or not you want to receive some news from the iTunes store, and uncheck them if you don't want any more emails. And go ahead and click on Continue. The next screen is going to ask us to provide a payment method. You're going to click on None. So on payment type, go ahead and click on None. If you enter a billing address, which we did tell you to do in the instructions, but it turns out you don't need to. But if you do, enter Xavier's address as your billing address and click on Create Apple ID. You now have your Apple ID. That's all there is to it, and we'll see you at training. Thank you.